Question 4. Question 2, it's from a midterm. Briefly explain each of the following using examples. Please make sure to use your own examples and not the ones discussed in class or a book or found on the internet. Okay? First one is asymmetric information. And these are all definition-based questions, so probably won't be using much of this whiteboard and just explaining. So asymmetric information, our tutor says, asymmetric information exists when a buyer or seller of a product has more information about the product than the other and has incentive to hide it from the other person. This is when we say asymmetric information exists in the market. Example of asymmetric information would be any market for secondhand or old products. For example, a market for old mobile phones, tablets, car, house, or any other product which you want to sell. You have reason to hide true information about it as you want to sell it for a higher price. And this is a perfect explanation. Asymmetric information is when one party in the market has more information about the good or service than the other party. And if we look at a house, for example, when you're trying to sell a house, you're obviously not going to show, at least if you're trying to make the most money out of it, you're not going to show everything that's wrong with the house. You're not trying to drive your buyers away. So you hide that information, and hopefully it leads to selling at a higher price. Moral hazard. Moral hazard is a situation where a person or business will have a tendency to take risks or alter their behavior because the negative costs or consequences that could result will not be felt by the person taking the risk. Simply stated, the financial costs or consequences will be felt by someone else. Great explanation, great definition. That is the correct definition. And let's see this example. The person who maxed out their credit cards knew he would not have to pay for the additional debt he was bringing on when he made the decision to file for bankruptcy protection. The credit card companies would simply have to take those charges as a loss since they wouldn't collect payments. Another example is a friend driving the vehicle carelessly was shifting all the risks to his insurance company to pay for his poor decision in how he parked or drove his car. And again, that meets the criteria. Basically, you're taking the risks because you know you're not going to incur the consequences of that risk if it were to go south. Next definition is hidden characteristics. Hidden characteristics are things that one side of a transaction knows about itself that the other side would like to know but doesn't know. For example, a buyer of an old phone will likely to know about its current performance, like battery life, but will not get to know the exact information about it. And that's correct. This is much like asymmetric information, but sorry about that. This is much like asymmetric information, except it's a different definition, and it's a correct definition. If you're selling your old phone, you might not want to tell someone about the battery life because you're trying to sell it. The next is signaling. Just give me a second. Signaling is the idea that one party credibly conveys some information about itself to another party. For example, in a job market signaling model, potential employees send a signal about their ability level to the employer by acquiring education credentials. Other examples will be as attending the lectures regularly act as a signal that the professor that he or she is serious about this course. Another great explanation, and is basically trying to convey some sort of information about yourself to another party. And a perfect example is when you're looking for a job. You put all those things on your resume because you want to make the person hiring you know that like you're capable of doing what the job entails. So that means going to school, getting an education. Everything you put on your resume is basically signaling the people hiring you that you're capable of what the job entails. And finally, screening we call is a way the underinformed party can induce the other party to reveal their information so that the problem of asymmetry is solved. They can provide a menu of choices in such a way that the choice depends on the private information of the other party. An example of this would be like at the time of admissions, universities use information like CV, reference letters, grades, and other information to know about the true potential of the candidate. Another example of this would also be when you get a job, your employers usually do a background check, and that's another way of screening because they want to know if you're actually legally allowed to participate in this job. They want to check your record, they want to check your history. You just want to make sure that everything is in line for you to actually start doing the job. So these are great explanations, and they're also correct.